Chapter 2, verses 101 through 200. 101. A person of your kind, human being, does not have to be satisfied with one kind of food, because he or she shall work to bring out of the earth what can be grown from its corn and its herbs, fruits, and vegetables. Therefore, he or she does not have to accept something less in return for something better if he or she goes about his or her work industriously. And whoever cannot undertake the work and the harvest himself or herself should go to the town where he or she can find what he desires in return for payment. 102. Forgiving the errors and offenses of people of your kind, fellow human beings, means showing equitableness, fairness, and doing good. 103. Only those without equitableness, inequitable ones, irresponsible ones, unfair ones, confuse the word of the truth with lies, but the liars cause unending damage to themselves with this, because they have no true friends, only false friends who tell them what they want to hear. 104. It is rightful to be truthfully at all times and never to bring hardships on people of your kind, fellow human beings, and on earth by creating lovelessness, unfreedom, peacelessness, joylessness, and discordance, disharmony. 105. Many are smitten with misery and ignominy by inflicting torment and gewalt on themselves, because they burden themselves with their own anger, and because since time immemorial they have in their intractability and in their outrageousness repudiated the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and wish to kill the true proclaimers, the prophets. 106. Truly, those who really have knowledge about the truth of the primal power, creation, and who live, act, and do good works in accordance with the laws of the primal power, creation, they will receive their reward in the form of joy, love, peace, freedom, concordance, harmony, and wisdom. Therefore, no fear of the life and of the death will come over them, and their sorrow will be kept within reasonable bounds. 107. It is recommended to hold fast to what has been given through the principles of the primal power, creation, and the natural principles, and all this that has been given shall be remembered for all time, so that no hardships result from wrong thoughts, feelings, and deeds. 108. You people of your kind, human beings, do not turn away from the grace given by the laws of the primal wellspring, creation, and from the prosperousness in all things, because otherwise you will live your life as a loser. 109. The person of your kind, human being, must not be like apes or like those despised through misdeeds, because he or she alone must account for his or her own actions, deeds, thoughts, and feelings, something which is lacking in the apes and the human beings who have become despised through lawbreaking. This must be taken into cognizance and observed on a daily basis. 110. It is always to be thought about that even those despised because of misdeeds are people of your kind, human beings, who must be given their right and must not be condemned or mistreated as such, because only their misdeeds shall be judged, legally assessed, i.e. condemned, in order to demand appropriate atonement from the fallible one. 111. Those without equitableness, inequitable ones, irresponsible ones, unfair ones, fallible ones, and those despised because of misdeeds as well as their wrongdoing and their wrong thoughts and feelings, shall serve as an example to everyone who is living at their time or comes after them. And it shall be a teaching to live not in fear of the unright, but in joy with the equitable, fair, responsible. 112. The primal wellspring, creation, and its laws and recommendations do not command, as is the case with divinities created by people of your kind, human beings, and those who make a mockery of the truth and want to lead those into the unreal who are attempting to escape from their unknowledge and are seeking refuge in the truth. 113. The dead are not to be mourned, rather the living dead, who lead their present existence in unknowledge, unwisdom, lovelessness, unfreedom, unpeace, and in inequality, disharmony, and are at odds with their life. 114. Always ask your next ones to make it clear what they want, so that understanding is the result, and not discord, strife, and not hatred, and not unpeace that come out of misunderstanding. This is how the behavior in rightness is to be. 115. Request that the next ones always offer the truth and clearness in all things, just as everyone shall themselves be connected to the truth and clearness, because only in this wise can a being well led become reality in these things. 116. A person of your kind, human being, shall never be placed under a yoke, never become a slave to the next one or to the authority, but shall undertake his or her duty without rebuke or compulsion in freedom, even if the fellow human beings or the authority do not like to countenance it. 117. The light of the truth is concealed by those who slaughter their next ones, and yet argue about it in order to gain their own profit from it. 118. Do not beat the fallible ones, the criminals, the thieves, liars, deceivers, and adulterers, and do not kill, murder, the manslayers, murderers, as a punishment for the crime committed on the killed, murdered. Rather practice equitableness, fairness, and demand atonement in application of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, which are not directed towards revenge, hatred, and retaliation, but rather towards forbearance, forgiveness, reconciliation, and benevolence. Humanity. Therefore, every punishment shall only be given in true humaneness, without harming life and limb, but so that the fallible ones understand the signs, warnings, of the atonement and may rue the deed. 119. Your love and humaneness are hardened like stones and even harder. However, the hardness must be softened so that kind-heartedness, love, and humaneness are able to break forth once more with the effect that virtues, respect for life, and equitableness, fairness, may flow forth, and all anxiety, submissiveness, and fear will escape from the thoughts and feelings. Therefore, it is important not to be heedless in all one's doings. 120. If it is expected that the word of the truth of the teaching of the Spirit and the formation given, creation given, truth of the laws and recommendations will be accepted, then this is only an expectation because the truth is not readily accepted, but is twisted because it is not understood or is uncomfortable, although the consequences of this will not fail to appear. 121. Whenever the ones who have knowledge about the real truth are met, then the unknowing ones, and those without equitableness, unfair ones, irresponsible ones, inequitable ones, say that the knowing ones only wanted to reveal and disclose and argue about things that they themselves could not understand, and that it was in any case far from the truth and reality. 122. The unknowing ones and those without equitableness, unfair ones, irresponsible ones, inequitable ones, do not know that they are revealing to the knowing ones what they are hiding through foolish talk. 123. Vast numbers of people of your kind, human beings, are untaught and do not know the words of the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, and the teaching of the truth, but only their own needs, desires, vices, wantonness, pathological cravings, drives, and wishes, and they simply assume and do not find the core of the things, of the reality, and of the truthfulness. 124. Woe betide those who steal the teaching of the proclaimers, the prophets, and write their own books using it, lying that these are their own teachings and that they only want to take a paltry price for this. Therefore, woe betide them on behalf of what they steal and write in lies, and it will go ill with them because of the price that they fraudulently extract, because ill-gotten goods never prosper for long, it being unavoidable that lies will come to the light of the truth. 125. The thieves and liars of the books and writings of the proclaimers, the prophets, fallaciously believe that they will not be touched by the fire of atonement and woe, or if so, then only for a small number of days. But they do not receive any permission or promises for their shameful doing, which is why they will have to give account for their activities sooner or later and atone for their actions. And truly, they do not know what an outrage they are committing. 126. Truly, whoever does bad things and gets entangled in their misdeeds will not be happy of the life, and makes themselves guilty for all the things done that are unright. But it is important not to dwell therein, but to liberate oneself therefrom. 127. The knowing ones and those who do good works and live according to the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, they are the ones who are living in equitableness, living in fairness, responsibility, and they shall remain in this. 128. There is an unwritten bond between you and the primal raising, creation, and it shall be kept in honor and dignity, so that all life, the appearance, nature, the world, and the universe may be respectfully honored and protected. 129. No god and no tin god shall be prayed to, because only the vast primal raising, creation, is the unmeasurable secret from which all being originated. 130. You shall show kind-heartedness to your parents, brothers and sisters, children, relatives, to the poor and the orphaned, and to all fellow human beings. And you shall talk graciously to the people of your kind, human beings, and spread the teaching of the truth, give alms, gifts, and not turn away from all these duties and from the carrying of your responsibility for all and everything with unwillingness. And those who do this nevertheless bring down ignominy and guilt onto their heads. Mental block equals consciousness, thoughts, feelings, and psyche. 131. People of your kind, human beings, of earth. You are people who slaughter your own brothers and sisters and drive some of your own out of their houses, and the one supports the other in his or her doing shamefully through misdeeds and ignominy against the disadvantaged. 132. You shall not spill the blood of your own, not that of your spouse, nor that of your own children, brothers and sisters, relatives, friends, acquaintances, and of the fellow human beings, just as you shall not spill the blood of those who are thieves and deceivers, murderers, adulterers, or other criminals, or those without equitableness, inequitable ones, irresponsible ones, unfair ones. And also you shall not harm them physically or drive them out of their houses. 133. You praise and endorse the criminal activities of the lawbreakers who, as judges, demand the death as atonement, and those who practice torture and killing, murder, on condemned evildoers, because you do not consider that you are acting unlawfully against the laws of the primal power creation. 134. Many know about the truth of the laws of the creational laws, and the need to follow them, but very many doubt them and turn to an invented god or tin god in order to pay homage to it, glorify it, pray to it, and ask it for gifts, grace, and benevolence, which it, however, cannot grant because it does not exist. 135. Therefore there is no happy reward for those amongst you who do evil, pray to a god or tin god, because they give themselves over to the guilt of the abject worship of a divinity thought up by people of your kind, human beings, or of a tin god, from which they only harvest anxiety and fear as their ultimate reward. 136. Those who do not respect the current life and throw it away, whether through clear self-killing, suicide, or out of carelessness, are devoid of all rationality and of the knowledge, because they are destroying learning opportunities for their swelling evolution of their inner world, consciousness development, which they will have to work on again in a new life as a new all of themselves, personality, through arduous learning. Therefore, the arduousness of learning is not reduced by this. Rather, they destroy their own initiative for their own learning opportunity. 137. There were many proclaimers, prophets, who in truth brought the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, and representatives followed in their footsteps who explained the evident signs, proofs, of the truth of the prophets and bore witness to their truthfulness. But you did not want to listen to them, neither to the prophets nor to the representatives. So, every time that a herald of the truth teaching comes to you, which is something you yourselves do, not wish for, do you want to be arrogant and continue to insult the proclaimers, prophets, their representatives, and the other heralds of the teaching of the truth, calling them liars, treating them as deceivers, and strike them dead? 138. Truly, your senses and your rationality and your intellect are wrapped in shrouds because you curse yourselves for the sake of your unknowledge, because what you really know is only very little. 139. You plead for fulfillment of what you want to have, and you plead to be victorious over those whom you deem to be your enemies, because you do not understand that you shall not appoint any others to be your enemies, and nevertheless you do not restrain yourselves from doing this. When you are granted what you wish, then you throw it away again and bring down bane on your heads. Mental block equals consciousness, thoughts, feelings, and psyche. 140. Bad is that for which you sell your honor and dignity, because you reject, disregard, and tread underfoot the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, for which reason no grace will be bestowed on your heads, and nothing can come to you which will make you really happy and full of gladness. Therefore you only bring down gavolt and rage upon rage and anger upon anger on yourselves, in order finally to deteriorate into blind submissiveness and to depart from the life as unknowing ones and ones without equitableness, unfair ones, inequitable ones, irresponsible ones. 141. And if you are told that you shall know everything about what had been given since time immemorial through the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, then you do not want to know it hereafter when you are taught it, although it is the truth and everything is affirmed by the reality. 142. Why do you harm and slaughter your proclaimers, your prophets, who bring you the teaching of the truth, teaching of the life, teaching of the Spirit, if you believe yourselves to be so knowing and human? And truly it has been since time immemorial only the real proclaimers, the prophets, who taught you the truth, but you prefer to listen to the false priests of your imaginary God, your tin gods. So you have fallen prey to them in worship and have become malefactors, irresponsible ones, against the truth of the fruitfulness creation and its laws and recommendations. 143. Bad is that for which people of your kind, human beings, have sold your prosperity and adversity, namely for a suppliant and abject belief in an invented and non-being divinity, and in tin gods of all kinds to whom you pay homage because you do not recollect the manifest teaching of the truth of the proclaimers, the prophets, who brought their teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life to everyone and will continue to bring it to those who want to hear and learn it. And because things are done in this wise, you bring down anger upon anger on your heads from out of yourselves and punish yourselves through lovelessness, unpeace, unfreedom, joylessness, lying, cheating, and inequality, disharmony. 144. When you are told that you shall be knowing in the real truth, then you lie that you are knowing and that you understand the truth, however only in order to curse the knowledge about it hereafter, although the real truth is the actual truth that is affirmed by the laws of the primal power, creation, and natural laws, from which all existence of everything existing has originated. Therefore you prefer to slay the proclaimers, the prophets, of the truth teaching rather than being honest to yourselves and to people of your kind, fellow human beings, and turning yourselves to the eternal truth. 145. Many a proclaimer, prophet, came to you with manifest signs, marvels, which you however disregarded maliciously and imperiously, and therefore you committed an outrage against the truth and continue to do so today. Because you have fallen into the worship of divinities and tin gods which neither possess rationality, nor intellect, nor the slightest fiber of might, so that they could not even make one hair on your heads turn gray. 146. Remember the teaching of the proclaimers, the prophets, and hold fast to that what they have given to you, and listen to their teaching of the real truth, so you understand that you have to raise yourselves up to the truth and obey yourselves in this truth, so that you set yourselves free from the unknowledge. Do not impose any belief on yourselves and turn to the knowledge of the truth in order to attain wisdom and true love. 147. The dwelling of the impalpable other world is only for the consistency of the spirit, however not for the person, because this is extinguished after dying in order to give energy and power to a new person who will be born when the spirit body, spirit form, once again returns in a body of people of your kind, human body. Therefore do not call for death in order to find in it a release from earthly anguish, because death extinguishes the person for all time and it can never again be made living. 148. And death shall never be called upon in the hope that an existence at the side of a god or in a paradise, realm of gods and tin gods, might be a joyful life, because such teachings have no truth and are only the delusions of the brain of false priests, proclaimers and prophets who have misled you into senselessness because they obtain advantages, relevance, and benefits from it. 149. If you are truthful, then search for the real truth and call for it for the sake of what the proclaimers, the prophets, have said to you in advance concerning knowledge regarding the teaching, so that you do not remain malefactors, irresponsible ones, against the truth, but that you turn to it. 150. Amongst you, the ones who are most greedily searching for life are the ones who are only striving for enjoyment, vice, amusement, stinginess, revelry, indulgence, pathological craving, salaciousness, gorging, gluttony and desires, vices, wantonness, pathological cravings, urges, and who do not pay heed to the real truth nor to fulfillment of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. And indeed, every one of you wishes in his or her greedy activities to be granted 1,000 years of life, in which case, however, you do not consider that even the granting of such a life would not protect you from your own atonement if you do not fulfill the sense of the life that is given in the swelling, evolution, of the inner world consciousness, and the accumulation of love, knowledge, wisdom, peace, freedom and harmony in all things. 151. Whoever is an enemy of the truth that arises from the laws and recommendations of fruitfulness, creation, vilifies, prescribes, not only their fulfillment, but also the messages, revelations, and guidance of the proclaimers, the prophets. 152. Whoever is an enemy of the truth is also an enemy of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and an enemy of the natural laws as well as an enemy of the proclaimers, the prophets. 153. Truly, the proclaimers, the prophets of the teaching of the truth, teaching of the Spirit, teaching of the life have brought forth manifest signs, marvels, evidence, since time immemorial, and nobody denied their knowledge of this other than the wiseacres, the disobedient ones, and the liars and slanderers. And as often as they concluded an agreement with the truth and the teaching, then they rejected it again, because they are depraved and mendacious and truly without knowledge. 154. Even since time immemorial, when proclaimers, prophets, came to fulfill what the teaching of the truth as well as the principles of the primal power, creation, demand them to do, very many of those to whom the teaching and the truth was given cast all the knowledge behind them as if the teaching and the truth had never been announced, proclaimed to them. 155. Many of them followed the way that they pursued under the dominance of agitators against the teaching of the truth and the teaching of the Spirit, as well as the teaching of the life. And it was agitators who remained in the unknowledge and taught the people deception and falsehood. 156. And it was representatives to whom it was revealed by the proclaimers, the prophets, to instruct the unknowing ones and put them to the test, and say that they shall not remain ones who have no knowledge of the truth. 157. The proclaimers, the prophets, taught their representatives and the people that no one shall do harm to any other, and that a distinction shall be made between man and woman in many things, but that both shall accompany one another in life with the same right, with the same entitlement and inequality, as is given by the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. 158. It was and is taught that everything shall be desisted from which does harm and gives no benefit. Whoever acquires such things nevertheless will not have any joyful portion in life. But it is true that so many sell their happiness and their gladness for awful things, for scum and all the terrible things of the world, because knowledge and truth is abhorrent to them. 159. If you would have known and acted rightly, then the reward for your present existence would certainly have been better, and your life reward would be better if you turned to the real truth and therefore to the primal power, creation, and acted rightly. 160. Oh, you have fallen into belief, and you say that the untruth is good. But know and hear that only truth and the true knowledge are good, whereas untruth and unknowledge only bring painful hardship and affliction. 161. Those who are unknowing amongst the people, in the writing of the truth teaching, and amongst those who place divinities and tin gods beside the primal power, creation, they all do not wish that good is sent down on all those who in truth have knowledge of the teaching of the truth. But the truth chooses boon and unmeasurable grace for those who are knowing of the truth. 162. Whatever signs, teaching, evidence, and marvels, the proclaimers, the prophets, abrogate or allow to fall into forgetfulness. In their place they bring forth better or equivalent ones according to the new time, because the new times demand expansions to the teaching of the truth and the signs, evidence, and marvels. You namely become more intelligent and expand your knowledge, which is why the teaching of the truth, teaching of the Spirit, teaching of the life must be given more extensively and in greater detail in accordance with the new time and the new understanding. However, what does not change is the truth content of the teaching, because the truth is eternal and unchanging. And the true prophets have the might to do everything in order to carry out the teaching as they consider right. However, protect yourselves from false proclaimers, false prophets who simulate wisdom, but are actually less knowing than children and have fallen into the belief in some divinity or other or tin gods. 163. Do you not know that the domain of the firmament, universe, and of the earth's, world's, planets, belongs to the primal power, creation, alone, but that you are set above all as governors, as protectors and helpers for yourselves, for all life and everything existing? 164. Do you want to ask your proclaimers, your prophets, as the knowing ones and the wise ones asked them before, in order to avoid entering in unknowledge into an exchange with a belief in divinities and tin gods, and in order not to err in doubt from the right way. 165. Many of the people who are not favorably disposed to the writing of the truth and to the truth wish in the enviousness of their nature. Although the teaching of the truth has been clearly announced, proclaimed to them, that they could discourage those of you who are yourselves knowing in the writing of the truth and the truth itself from your cognition of the truth and following of the truth, in order to change you back into one's unknowing of the truth. But do not be angry because of this, and forgive them by proclaiming to them that it is your decision not to deviate from the truth and not to turn away from them, because you continue to be connected to them in love. You have the might to do so. 166. Do your duty and fulfill your responsibility, which can only be carried by yourselves and not by a god or tin gods on your behalf. Therefore also give alms, gifts, to the people in need, and send out goodness from yourselves, because you will find it again as thanks from those to whom you give your help. And truly, your goodness and your help will be appreciated, because the people of your kind, human beings, will see what you are doing. 167. The believers in a god and in tin gods say that believers in other things who are not of their belief will not enter the firmament's paradise, realm of gods and tin gods. But such talk only represents fallible teachings and vain wishes of those who are going into confusion in the belief and erroneously hope that a god or tin god might live in a firmament's paradise, realm of gods and tin gods. Indeed, this is an evil, fallacious teaching for which the in the belief fallible ones can never provide truthful evidence. 168. Whoever entirely falls in line with the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and the laws of appearance, nature, will receive an appropriate reward for all time in equitableness, fairness, and will have no anxiety and not be afraid, nor will they fall in a false sorrow. 169. The ones who believe in a god and tin gods say that people who believe otherwise have no basis for their belief, and the ones who believe otherwise say that the others have no basis for their belief, although they both read the writings of their respective belief, which all say that they shall also be equivalent and tolerant in belief. And in accordance with their speaking, so spoke those already who did not have any knowledge of the writings. Therefore they judged fallibly amongst themselves, because they were disunited amongst themselves. 170. And who is more inequitable, more irresponsible, more unfair than those who pile dishonor and ignominy on their next ones in belief in a god or tin gods? They are the same as the inequitable ones, unfair ones, who prevent the real truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, from being taught through the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, because they are striving to destroy it. And truly, it is not appropriate to do such a thing, because it is without respect and an ignominy in this world. But those who do such a thing will not reap any good reward. 171. To you on the earth roundness is given the east, the west, the south, and the north, and wherever you turn, and therefore the real truth of the principles of the primal power, creation, and natural principles, which is to be found in an unlimited wise. Pay attention to it and make it your own, then it will go well with you. 172. Everything in the firmaments, universe, and on earth's, worlds, planets, is the work of the creation, but it has made it for you to be yours so that you might control everything respectfully, guide everything correctly, and do everything for your own benefit, and that of everything living and otherwise existing. Therefore everything in the firmaments, universe, and on earth, has been given to you as your own, for you to care for well and protect, so that nothing turns into the spilling of blood or into destruction through getting very badly out of the control of the good human nature. 173. The creation alone is the creation of the firmaments, universe, and of the earth's, worlds, planets. It formed the idea from which everything became. 174. The unknowing ones ask why their god or their tin god does not speak to them, does not appear to them face to face, and does not give them any signs, miracles. But this was already how those people spoke who were not connected to the truth before you, because they did not comprehend, recognize, and did not understand the truth and the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. As you do not comprehend them, the questions by the old and new unknowing ones are the same, because they did not understand the signs, teaching, evidence, and marvels, given by the prophets, although these were made obvious for everyone so that they would be understood. However, they did not understand because they were trapped by their belief in God and 10 gods, and went into confusion, just as you also in the time of the current day go into confusion as ones without knowledge of the truth, which is why you shall learn from the prophets. 175. The proclaimers, the prophets, sent themselves with the truth, as bringers of good news and as warners. And they confront you and explain to you the truth teaching, so that you might understand it and know that the shadow world, hell, is no place of the evil one, the devil, and of demons, but the condition of your own feeling. 176. No one who has any belief whatsoever in a divinity or in a 10 God will be satisfied with you, unless you follow their belief. Truly, however, your guidance is solely the guidance of the truth coming from the creation. Therefore do not follow the false cognizance or the cravings of those who go in falseness and erroneously teach the untruth. Otherwise you will find neither true friends nor honest helpers. 177. Those to whom the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life has been given, and who follow it as it shall be followed, they are the ones who know about the real truth. And all those who do not know about it are the losers. 178. O you people of your kind, human beings, think about the laws and recommendations of the creation that have been explained by the prophets since time immemorial and are still bestowed upon you today, so that you rise above yourselves in the knowledge about the truth and become true people of your kind, human beings and peoples. 179. And consider that when you are put to the test by the proclaimers, the prophets, through the laws and recommendations, then consider that they are the true leaders for you of today and tomorrow and for all descendants, irrespective of whether they live in equitableness, fairness, responsibility, or in inequity, irresponsibility, unfairness. 180. Build up a house here and there as a meeting place for yourselves, so that you have a place of refuge for learning the truth and the truth teaching. And take any place for this which appears suitable, and keep it clean of all evil for all people who turn it into peace and freedom, and for those who stay there in contemplation of the truth and creation, and for those who say prayers to their spirit, i.e. consciousness, therein. 181. The laws of the primal power, laws of the creation, and recommendations of the primal power, recommendations of the creation, require that you make each place into a place of peace and freedom and love and consonance, harmony, and supply all inhabitants of all places with fruits and other nourishments, both those who are knowing and those who are unknowing. But keep your descendants' numbers within limits, so that no hunger, suffering, hatred, vice, or any evil disasters originate in there. Is no destruction wrought on the world, its appearance, nature, and the world of animals and other creatures, birds, fishes, reptiles, etc., and on the air, on the waters, and the weather. And do good deeds for all people of your kind, human beings, for all time, and no one shall be driven into the fire of hardship, because this is not a destiny. 182. Build the foundation walls of your knowledge on the real truth of the principles and recommendations of the primal power, creation, as well as on the natural laws, because you are destined as the fulfillers of those. 183. The prophets teach you that you shall turn to the real truth and keep your descendants' numbers within limits, as is given to you through the laws of rationality, that you shall follow by not taking the way of believing in divinities and 10 gods, but the way of the truth, because you are the ones who must turn to yourselves in kind-heartedness and give yourselves benevolence. 184. The proclaimers, the prophets, have always awakened themselves since time immemorial from the midst of their people, and they shall also do so in the time to come. And they have given you signs, teaching evidence and marvels of the truth, and they will continue to proclaim signs, evidence of the truth, and teach the writing of wisdom, so that you will cleanse yourselves of your unknowledgeness, and you will be the mighty ones and the wise ones on earth, who follow the truth teaching. 185. You shall not turn away from the knowledge and the wisdom of the prophets, unless you are of misguided senses and erroneously assume, believe, that you have been chosen in better knowledge and by the world to spread fallacious teachings, by which you, however, put yourselves in the unright, and you will certainly be the ones without equitableness, unfair ones, irresponsible ones, inequitable ones. 186. Connect yourselves with the real truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. to be a true human being and the true master of your life. 187. O you people of your kind, human beings, in truth the primal wellspring, creation, has chosen the knowledge, the wisdom, and the swelling growth evolution of your inner world consciousness for you through its laws and recommendations, so that you may fulfill the sense of the life and death does not overtake you through belief and in the state of being devoted to a god or 10 gods, and therefore in unknowledge and unwisdom. 188. True prophets were with many peoples that have since passed away, and they received what they merited, and it will be the same with you at your passing away. Therefore you shall heed the word and teaching of the true prophet, so that you will not be appraised according to those deeds as were connected to the peoples already passed away according to their merits. 189. Do not be believers in divinities or 10 gods, but be knowing ones in creational truth so that you are led correctly. Therefore do not follow a belief, but only the truth, the one made known since time immemorial by the prophets who were not false like those who set up divinities and 10 gods beside the primal wellspring creation. 190. Know about the truth of the primal wellspring creation, the only one, and what has been revealed to you by the proclaimers, the prophets, of its laws and recommendations. Therefore make no distinction between the words of one proclaimer, prophet, and another proclaimer, prophet, because their teaching of the truth is a single teaching, although one that has been repeatedly re-explained in accordance with your intellect, and so that the teaching will be continuously expanded in each new time, newly explained and presented. And the last proclaimer, prophet, from the one line will explain the truthfully teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life in the greatest of detail, in the last sequence, which will be in a unique wise, after which the line of the proclaimers, the line of the prophets, will end and not be resumed again. 191. And if you are knowing, then you are truly led. If, however, you turn back, then you will cause a splitting in yourselves, so that you will certainly no longer satisfy equitableness, fairness, and the present existence, because then you are the all-deepening ones, all-hearing ones, of a belief and set against better knowledge. 192. Accept the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the laws and recommendations of formation creation. And who is a better teacher of the truth teaching than the true prophets who are familiar with the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, which they have learned since time immemorial? 193. Do not quarrel amongst yourselves about the real truth, because the truth is given by the laws of the power of origination, creation, and is unchangeable. And the power of origination, creation, alone is the great might and the unmeasurable secret beside, which you shall not place any gods or 10 gods. Solely the power of origination, creation, is the highest one above you, and it has done its great works from which all firmaments, the universe, and all life originated. Therefore do your works so that from you great things may also come forth as greatness and good things as goodness, and be upright in your doings so that you are not malefactors. Therefore honor the name of the creation, so that you do not misuse it. 194. Do you know that all people of your kind, human beings, were always people of your kind, human beings, both the believers in divinities and 10 gods, as well as the ones who have knowledge of the truth about the creation? Or do you believe that you know it better than the prophets who are connected only to the truth, and consider that you are without equitableness, unfair ones, irresponsible ones, inequitable ones? If you conceal the prophet's evidence of the truth, and that you're wrong, doings will not go unheeded. 195. It is taught that the old peoples passed away according to their merit, which was of a negative sense and wrong value, because they concealed and disregarded the truth teaching. Do not do the same, so that you will not be asked about their deeds and not made equivalent to them. 196. If you do the same as the old peoples who passed away according to their merits by falling away from the truth, then you will be asked why you have turned away from the true truth teaching, which you had however followed. Therefore you are surely well led on the right path, in the east, west, south, and north, if you pay your tribute to the truth. 197. The laws of the primal wellspring, laws of the creation, determine that you shall raise yourselves up into peoples and shall live together in peace, love, freedom, and in concord, harmony, with one another, and you shall be guardians of these values. And no law shall be applied according to which malefactors, lawbreakers, doers of misdeeds, and unrighteous ones, conscienceless ones, shall be subjected to punishments which harm their life and limb. In other words, neither torture, nor the threat of death, nor their execution, because the inner feeling, psyche, and life and limb of the people of your kind, human beings, must remain inviolate. It is not the wise of the primal wellspring, creation, nor of its laws and recommendations for human beings to be harmed in their inner feeling, psyche, or their life and limb, because punishment shall only be imposed in the form of taking measures for separation from the people, society, for a certain duration. In the world of your thoughts and your feelings, you shall be compassionate and kind-hearted towards all life, and be fearless in your knowledge about the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. 198. Often, you turn your face towards the firmament and look up to the stars where you are searching for your gods and tin gods, but they are not there because they are only the delusions of your brains. Truly, however, if you look to the firmament and onto earth and at everything that creeps and flies thereon, then you will see the great and vast work of the primal wellspring, creation, the only one. Therefore turn your face, eyes, to all that the primal wellspring, creation, has created and has been maintaining since time immemorial, because only that is the truth and reality. And wherever you may be, turn your face to the miracles, outstanding things of the primal wellspring, creation, so that you recognize the truth and also the writing of the truth that is given to you and one day will be given to you in detail as a valuable book when the last prophet of the one line brings it forth in all comprehensiveness and gives it to you. And he will teach you the truth teaching like none other before. And therefore the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life will not go unheeded in future, because the doings of the last prophet will be outstanding without measure. 199. The last prophet brings the writing of the truth teaching as well as all signs, marvels, evidence of his power and the real truth which you shall follow. If you do not follow the real truth, then you are following delusional teachings, their false cognizance and wishes. Then you are truly without equitableness, unfair ones, irresponsible ones, inequitable ones. 200. The rational ones amongst you to whom the writing of the teaching of the truth is given, recognize it as the truth, just as they recognize their own children. Others, however, are irrational because they knowingly, consciously conceal the truth.